Before you start removing the front wheel, the first thing you should do is jack up the motorcycle so the front wheel can move freely and the front of the bike won't fall down when you take it off. So use a jack, or in this case big stone and a couple of 2x4s. The front pinch bolt loose. We're going to turn the axle. It's a left-hand thread. You back that all the way out. Pull it free. Now with the tire free from the bike, you have to take the air out of the tube. And take off the cap. And remove the valve stem. Now with the tire on the ground, we're going to push down. Make sure the bead's free on both sides. Using Mr. Big Screwdriver, Mr. Fairly Big Screwdriver, we're going to work our way around the tire, pulling the bead off. So, to start this, we're going to insert a big screwdriver underneath the bead there, and you can see, trying not to get the tube. We're going to pry up, pulling the bead over the edge of the rim, and then we're going to hold that with a smaller screwdriver. Then the big screwdriver moves a little bit farther over. Now we've got 3 inches of the bead over the rim. Move a little farther down. And repeat that. Again, being careful not to get the tube in between the bead and the screwdriver. Now it gets easier once you have about 10 inches. It'll stay on its own. Now I'm still going to put this screwdriver in here to hold it, but it largely will stay on its own at this point. So I continue to work my way around. Continue to work my way around. Get to this last section. Just pops right up on its own. Next thing we have to do is remove the 2 nuts holding the valve stem. Let's get the tube out. Should come off fairly easily. I'm sure you oiled them the last time you did this. We're going to remove the tube from inside the tire. Careful not to damage the valve stem. Now to remove the tire from the rim. Put our big screwdriver in there. Pry. Our small screwdriver in to hold it. Pry over a little bit more. Just like we did on the other side, go a little bit farther down. Once you get about 10 inches, it tends to stay, but I keep the screwdriver there anyway for safety's sake. Once you get about half of it out, you can just pull the rim free. Now to put the rim in the new tire, slide the rim in as far as we can get it. It's about half of the way around. Point where there's only like 8 inches left. Should take smaller bites. Take a lot more effort to get that bead over. So We have the big screwdriver. That's the first part. We're going to carefully insert the tube, line up the valve stem with the hole, and start fitting this into the tire. I'll start with the side opposite the valve stem, push it in as far as I can, continue working my way around. Next thing I have to do is line up the valve stem, and to do that I'm pushing the back side of the tire down to give me clearance to get that in with a screwdriver, then reaching inside and pushing it through. Now, I don't want it to fall out, so I'm going to hold it, pull it all the way out, I'm going to put the nut on it just to make sure it doesn't pull back through while you put the rest of the tube in. The next thing we have to do is push the rest of the tube in. So I'm just tucking it down below the edge of the rim. Kind of pushing the tire down to hold it in place. Once you get it largely in, you can carefully take a screwdriver, poke that down. Okay. Again, being careful not to puncture the tube, pushing it down below the rim. Use a big screwdriver. Okay, the tube is largely below the edge of the rim. Now it's entirely below the edge of the rim. Next step is to start prying the tire back on. Again, I'm going to start with the big screwdriver, put the small one in place to hold it, move over, being careful not to pinch the tube. Okay, always make sure that the tube is tucked in. If you can feel it in there, it's probably going to pinch it. Alright, so I grab it, bring it over. As I bring it over, I hold with the small screwdriver, big screwdriver. Same thing, holding the small screwdriver, trying on with the big screwdriver. Now, once you get till there's about a third of the tire left, you have to make sure that the tire is pushing into that groove to give you enough clearance to put it on without damaging the bead. So I was pushing down on the back side. Every time you pry it over now, you should double check that you've got that tire as far in as you can get it to make sure you've got enough clearance. When you get to about the last 12 inches, I like to spray on some lubricant, some kind. I'm using window cleaner. That helps you get it on there. Be very careful not to damage the tube. Pry the bead over. Down to the last couple inches. I'm going to put 2 screwdrivers in there. Pry the rest of the bead over. Now, if you have painted rims, you may be in for some repainting. They actually make tire spoons for this with a little hook. Too cheap to buy them. We're going to replace the valve and the stem and inflate the tire. After inflating the tires to 40 psi, I'm going to take the brakes, put them back in, slide the tire roughly to position, then carefully inserting the axle, push that in until it makes contact with the threads, Remember, this is a left-hand thread. So turn it counterclockwise until it's snug. Then tighten the pinch bolt, and you're all set.